Are you noticing your car insurance rate creep up even without tickets or claims? You're not alone. That's why there's Jerry, your proactive insurance assistant. Jerry handles the legwork by comparing quotes side by side from over 50 top insurers, so you can confidently hit buy. No spam calls, no hidden fees. Jerry even tracks rates and alerts you when it's best to shop. Drivers who save with Jerry could save over $1,300 a year. Don't settle for higher rates. Download the Jerry app or visit jerry.ai/ACAST today.
We interrupt this program to bring you an important Wayfair message. Wayfair's got style tips for every home. This is Styles Mackenzie helping you make those rooms sing. Today's style tip: when it comes to making a statement, treat bold patterns like neutrals. Go wild, like an untamed animal print area rug under a rustic farmhouse table from Wayfair.com. Arr, fierce. This has been your Wayfair style tip to keep those interiors superior.
Wayfair, every style, every home.
Introducing new Sylvania LED Ultra Fog and Power Sport lights. This powerful upgrade delivers cool white clarity and crisp visibility on the road ahead, so you can reignite the love for your car with lights that make it feel like day one. And built with a compact design for a DIY install, these fog lights are backed by over 100 years of lighting expertise to bring you LED Ultra night vision and help you see better at night. It's time to fall for your car all over again. Sylvania, light that lasts.
You know what's wild? Most people are still overpaying for car insurance just because it's a pain to switch. That's why there's Jerry. Jerry's the only app that compares rates from over 50 insurers in minutes and helps you switch fast with no spam calls or hidden fees. Drivers who save with Jerry could save over $1,300 a year. Before you renew your car insurance policy, do yourself a favor. Download the Jerry app or head to jerry.ai/ACAST.
Hello, I'm Sarah.
And I'm Toby.
And welcome to the Whispering Woods Extra. This extra is all about
The Phelps Mansion.
Yeah, this is a good story, and it's really quite freaky. I'll get straight into it. Are you ready for the story?
Yes, I am.
In the mid-19th century, the town of Stratford, Connecticut, seemed an unlikely stage of one of America's most bizarre hauntings. Reverend Eliakim Phelps, a respected Presbyterian minister, had moved his blended family into a grand 3-story mansion on Elm Street in 1848. The house, known as the Phelps Mansion, was an imposing Greek Revival residence, originally built by a sea captain, with an unusually long hall and twin staircases, modelled after a ship's design. For about 2 years, life was uneventful for the Phelps family in their new home. But all of that changed dramatically in 1850. The era was the dawn of spiritualism in America. The Fox sisters in New York had recently attracted national attention with their claims of spirit communication through mysterious rapping noises. In this charged atmosphere of seances and ghostly intrigue, the Phelps family would soon find themselves at the centre of a real-life supernatural mystery. Neighbours and newspapers would come to call it the Stratford Knockings, and decades later, it's often remembered as the Phelps Mansion Voices case, a nightmare on Elm Street. A nightmare on Elm Street. It began on Sunday morning, March 10th, 1850. The Phelps family returned home from church to an alarming sight. Every door and window of the house was thrown wide open. Even though Dr. Phelps had personally locked up the home before they left and kept the only keys in his pocket. Stepping inside, they found the rooms in complete disarray, as if ransacked by an intruder. Furniture had been overturned, clothes and books were strewn across floors, and dishes were smashed. Yet strangely nothing valuable was missing. Watches, silverware and money lay in plain view untouched. The family's astonishment turned to dread when they climbed the stairs. There, dark funeral crepe hung over the door and mirrors, the traditional Victorian sign of mourning, as if someone in the house had died. On one bed, they found Mrs. Phelps' white nightgown spread out neatly on the mattress, with its sleeves crossed over the chest, and a pair of stockings laid at the foot to suggest legs. It looked unnervingly like a corpse laid out in a coffin. That afternoon, as Mrs. Phelps and the children nervously went back for the next church service, Reverend Phelps decided to stay behind. Determined to catch the culprit if they returned, he armed himself with a pistol and kept watch in his study while the house stood deadly quiet. For a time nothing happened, but after a few hours, Phelps ventured out to inspect the rooms and discovered something even more incredible. He opened the dining room door and froze. The once empty room was now filled with figures that hadn't been there moments before. In the dim light, Phelps saw what appeared to be a silent congregation of people. Around 11 small figures, eerily human-like in form, kneeling and postured as if in prayer. As he peered closer, he realised these weren't living people at all, but lifelike dummies that had been cleverly assembled out of the family's clothing. Dresses, coats and shirts had been stuffed and arranged to resemble human bodies, posed in devotional attitudes on the floor. Each effigy had an open Bible placed in front of it. In the centre of the circle, one small, doll-like figure dangled on a string from the ceiling. By some accounts, a grotesque dwarf effigy or demonic caricature suspended in midair. The entire scene was a macabre parody of a prayer meeting, a grotesque mocking ritual that stunned Dr. Phelps. What made it truly puzzling was that the room had been locked and under watch. Phelps had been guarding the house, and no intruder had been seen. Yet in a short span of minutes, these elaborate effigies appeared out of nowhere. The effigies would not be a one-time occurrence either. In the days and weeks that followed, similar phantom phenomena kept manifesting inside the house. The family would clean up the dummies, only for new ones to form, in locked or empty rooms days later. Ultimately, nearly 30 of these ghostly figures were reported over the course of the haunting, each one composed of household fabrics and items mysteriously fashioned into the shape of human beings. After March the 10th, the Phelps mansion was never the same. What began with tossed furniture and effigies quickly escalated into a sustained frenzy of unexplained activity. Loud noises in the house became routine, the household would be jarred awake by thunderous bangs, knockings and rappings, resonating from walls and floors at all hours. Sometimes the piano was heard playing by itself in an empty parlour. And true to the case's later nickname, the family claimed to hear disembodied voices, as well at times faint whispers and murmurs, and other times piercing cries or shrieks. Physical objects, too, took on a life of their own. Dishes and china shattered spontaneously in their cabinets. Windows cracked or broke. Heavy tables and chairs would tip or rise up on two legs. Silverware levitated off the dining table, and fireplace tools flew across rooms. Eyewitnesses later described these objects, sometimes moving in slow motion, almost gently, while other times they whipped violently and crashed to the ground. On a few occasions, items even seemed to change direction mid-flight. The family was especially unnerved by the way random household items materialized and dropped from thin air. One morning during breakfast, a potato suddenly plummeted from the ceiling and smashed onto the table. Even more bizarrely, turnips began appearing out of nowhere around the house. Sometimes these surprise vegetables would tumble onto the floor, and a few were found with strange symbols carefully carved into them. On one occasion, the family watched in astonishment as a mysterious vegetable growth sprouted up from the parlour carpet, flashed a set of unknown symbols, then vanished. The Phelpses soon realised they were not the only witnesses to these events. Word of the strange happening spread, and many people visited the mansion to see for themselves. Neighbours, friends, local skeptics and clergymen all spent time in the house, and reports from those witnesses largely corroborated the family's claims. Objects moved on their own, and anomalous noises rang out, even under close observation. Onlookers saw books and dishes sail through the air. A few brave souls even followed flying objects from room to room, only to watch them land softly. No one could figure out a normal explanation. Skeptics who suspected pranksters had to admit that the family members were being constantly watched, making it exceedingly difficult for any of them to be secretly causing the phenomenon. So many people witnessed at least some of the phenomena that later accounts would marvel that 1,000 witnesses testified to the reality of what happened. Dr. Phelps' eldest son, Austin, from his first marriage, wrote of his family's ordeal. That the facts were real, 1,000 witnesses testified. That they were inexplicable by any known principles of science was equally clear to all who saw and heard them. Experts in science went to Stratford in triumphant expectation and came away in dogged silence, convinced of nothing, yet solving nothing. In other words, even investigators left the mansion confused. Whatever was happening on Elm Street, it eluded every attempt at a conventional solution. As spring turned to summer 1850, the phenomena in the Phelps' home grew more threatening. What began with pranks and noises took a dangerous turn toward physical attacks on the family, particularly the children. The Phelps' teenage daughter, Anna, aged 16, was one target. She would suddenly feel a sharp pinch or slap on her body when no one was near, Once, as she lay in bed, an unseen assailant pressed a pillow over her face while a cord or cloth tightened around her neck. The girl nearly suffocated before the rest of the family burst in to find her gasping and the mysterious ligature vanishing into the dark. Understandably, Anna was terrified. But the primary focus of the turmoil was Anna's younger half-brother, Henry Phelps, often called Harry, who was just 11 years old at the time. By all accounts, Harry suffered the worst abuse from the invisible forces. In one incident, his bed burst into flames, a fire that was quickly put out. On multiple occasions, Harry's clothes were ripped off his body, left in tatters in front of witnesses. Even outside the home, the boy seemed to be followed by the malicious presence. While riding in a carriage with his father, Harry was suddenly pelted by stones that flew out of an empty sky. A family friend once saw Harry lifted clear off the ground and flung across an entire room. Most disturbing of all, the spirits took to kidnapping young Henry in plain sight. Time after time, the boy would suddenly disappear from the middle of the house, sending everyone into a panic, only for Henry to be discovered later in some bizarre location, bound and gagged. On different days, they found him tied up in a tree in the yard, or unconscious and trussed up in a hayloft, or even stuffed inside a closet behind a jammed door. Each time, Henry was frightened, disorientated, and claimed to have no memory of how he got there. These escalating attacks on an innocent child made it hard for many to believe it was all a hoax. By now, Reverend Phelps feared his family was tormented by demons, and frankly, no one who witnessed the events could offer a better explanation. Throughout these terrifying months, the entities plaguing the Phelps' house also showed a strange inclination to communicate, or at least to taunt. Not long after the initial incidents, Reverend Phelps reported an incident. He had been sitting in his study writing a letter, with a blank sheet of paper lying nearby. He turned away for a moment, and when he looked back, he found the previously blank paper now filled with writing, lines of strange, ineligible script, the ink still wet on the page. Phelps had essentially received a spirit letter. Soon, more written messages began to manifest around the house, scraps of paper fluttering down from the ceiling with brief jocular notes scrawled on them. At times, cryptic symbols and phrases were found scribbled on walls, both inside the mansion and even on its exterior. Unsettling words would be scrawled in places they definitely hadn't been before. On one occasion, a large turnip that appeared in the house was found to have mysterious hieroglyphic-like markings cut into it, seemingly a message no one could decipher. Reverend Phelps and his wife also received letters from beyond, nearly 100 letters, by one count, drifted down to them over the months, many of which were oddly signed as if written by deceased friends and acquaintances of the family. In one particularly famous anecdote, a woman visiting the Phelps' home was joking about the strange correspondence and asked the spirits to write a letter for her to send to a friend in Philadelphia. To everyone's astonishment, almost immediately, a piece of paper floated down from above, addressed to that friend. It read, "Dear Mary, I have just time to write and tell you that I am well. Give my love to Miss Kay and her uncle. Also to Sarah. Goodbye. The note was signed at the bottom with a flamboyant alias, H.P. Devil. The implication was not subtle. Some prankish devil was mocking them. As all of this unfolded, observers began to notice a pattern. The disturbances seemed to centre around young Henry. Whenever Harry was present, the phenomena peaked in intensity. When he was absent or calm, things were quieter. Seeking both relief and answers, Reverend Phelps decided to remove Henry from the environment for a while. He sent the 11-year-old away to boarding school with relatives in Philadelphia, hoping the hauntings might stop if the medium, as some were calling the boy, was no longer in the house. For a brief time, this tactic seemed to work. The Stratford house fell quiet in Harry's absence. But if the family hoped their nightmare was over, they were disappointed. The strange phenomena followed Harry to Philadelphia. Reports came back that at his new school, Harry's textbooks would vanish or be found torn to shreds, and his clothing was mysteriously damaged. Other students were unnerved, and it caused such an uproar that Henry had to be brought back home. By now, people in spiritualist circles were taking a great interest in Henry Phelps. Many spiritualists declared that Harry must be a gifted medium, a conduit for spirits, who was unintentionally causing the phenomena around him. The Phelps family even held a few seances in the home, inviting spirit mediums and using the Fox sisters' method of question and answer via wrapped knocks. Allegedly during one such session, the unseen entities tapped out responses that they were breaking windows and wreaking havoc purely for their own amusement. When Harry and one of his older stepsisters were both away from the house, all the activity stopped entirely. This did not go unnoticed. Many skeptics at the time and later believed this was the biggest clue to the whole mystery. It suggested that the children themselves might be producing the disturbances, whether consciously as a prank or unconsciously through some psychic effect. With such sensational claims, journalists and investigators flocked to the Phelps mansion in 1850. The story was irresistible. A respectable clergyman's house, haunted by spirits, complete with spirit writing, moving objects, and ghostly attacks. Newspapers gave the case extensive coverage. Locals dubbed the phenomena the Stratford knockings, and that nickname headlined multiple articles. One particularly telling investigation came from a skeptical newspaper editor of nearby Derby Journal. On Friday, March 16, 1850, this editor and 3 other gentlemen from neighbouring towns arranged to spend the night in the Phelps house, hoping to catch the supposed tricksters in the act. Reverend Phelps welcomed them, open to having objective eyes observe the phenomena. That evening, as the group of visitors ascended the stairs, they were met with strange thumping sounds on the walls. Suddenly a glass bottle appeared on a stair step in front of them. Startled but determined, the men followed the persistent knocking sounds to one of the bedrooms. There, without warning, a hairbrush flew through the air and landed at their feet. They examined it in disbelief, only for another brush to come whizzing by, followed by a large comb that nearly struck one of them. Next, a piece of soap dropped out of nowhere onto the floor, all while the loud rapping noises reverberated through the room. The men thoroughly searched the bedroom, even listening at the door and hiding on the garret steps to see if someone was moving about. But no culprit was found. The two other men, who had been trying to sleep down the hall 30 feet away, were awakened by the commotion and rushed in. So now 4 sane, sober witnesses stood together, hearing the most horrible rappings ever heard, as the editor described, racking their brains to ascertain from whence they emanated. Despite all their efforts, the investigators left Stratford, convinced that no human trick had been uncovered. After roughly 8 months of continuous disturbances, the haunting at Phelps Mansion finally began to subside. By late 1850, Reverend Phelps was exhausted and desperately seeking normalcy. In the autumn of 1850, he sent his wife and children away to Philadelphia for an extended stay, hoping a change of environment would bring peace. Phelps himself stayed in Stratford a bit longer, both to tie up affairs and privately to see if the phenomena would continue in the family's absence. To his relief, the house stayed mostly quiet, with the others gone. An occasional odd noise or object found out of place, but nothing like the frenzy of the preceding months. It seemed the worst was over. The family cautiously returned to their Elm Street home in spring 1851. Accounts differ on what happened next. Some sources claim the hauntings flared up again, though only in minor ways, a few objects moving or disappearing now and then, and some light raps during the occasional séance, but no violent outbreaks. But other sources insist that nothing further occurred at all, that the house was calm and normal from 1851 onward. By 1851, Eliakim Phelps decided to leave Stratford permanently. The reasons were likely multiple. His wife and stepchildren never truly liked the town, and the notoriety of the haunting had made their privacy hard to maintain. The family moved back to Philadelphia, and Reverend Phelps resumed work there. The now infamous house on Elm Street stood empty for a time. In 1859, Phelps sold the mansion to Moses Y. Beach, a wealthy newspaperman, owner of the New York Sun, who had taken an interest in the property. Beach's family owned the mansion for decades, reportedly without any strange problems at all. For the next 90 years, the ground house changed hands several times and served mundane functions. Eventually, it was even converted into a convalescent nursing home in the 1940s, with no reported hauntings of note during all that time. Perhaps whatever spirits or energies had been at work in 1850 were long gone, or merely lying dormant.
Think Verizon is expensive? Think again. Anyone can bring their AT&T or T-Mobile bill to a Verizon store today and we'll give you a better deal. So bring us your bill. Walk in, run in, pogo stick in, teleport if you can. Ride on the back of a rollerblading yak or fly in on the wings of a majestic falcon. Any way you can, bring your AT&T or T-Mobile bill to a Verizon store today and we'll give you a better deal on the best network. Based on RootMetrics Best Overall Mobile Network Performance, U.S. Second Half 2025. All rights reserved. Must provide very recent postpaid consumer mobile bill in the name of the person redeeming the deal. Additional terms, conditions, and restrictions apply.
You know what's wild? Most people are still overpaying for car insurance just because it's a pain to switch. That's why there's Jerry. Jerry's the only app that compares rates from over 50 insurers in minutes and helps you switch fast with no spam calls or hidden fees. Drivers who save with Jerry could save over $1,300 a year. Before you renew your car insurance policy, do yourself a favor. Download the Jerry app or head to jerry.ai/ACAST.
Wow, what a story. The nightgown really freaked me out. the dummies about the house with their Bibles praying. That is some kind of freaky horror movie stuff.
Yeah.
It's also a bit of serial killery. I wonder if...
Everything.
Yeah. And that poor little boy. Like being kidnapped and put in cupboards and like going missing. No fun at all.
Nah.
I really don't know what was going on there, but it sounds like it was absolutely petrifying. And I don't even know why the nightgown spread out on the bed. Freaks me out when it does. Because now I've got some of those white nightgowns. You know I have, when I walk around the house like a ghost. I haven't worn them for a long time. But if I come in now and there's one on my bed, and that's what I'm going to imagine. One of those night dresses, the fancy Victorian-esque night dresses, just like out on my bed. They're not like a dummy. Freaky.
Yeah, it is quite.
I'm going to do it and put it on your bed. Just to see. You haven't tried to attack me in the hallway for a while.
Nah.
Well, nice to meet you jump out there.
Well, that's the end of this episode. I hope you enjoyed and we'll catch up with you again soon.
We will indeed. We will catch you again at the weekend for After Dark. Take care, everyone.
Goodbye.
Bringing your business dreams to life takes heart and about 1,000 decisions a day. That's why Atlantic Union Bank's knowledgeable bankers are here for you with the right guidance and customized solutions to help you reach your business goals. So whether you're planning your next move, upgrading your space, or scaling to meet demand, we make sure your business is ready for what's ahead because we're big enough to support you, yet small enough to know you. Atlantic Union Bank. Any way you bank.
The stories told on the Whispering Woods are inspired by historical records, witness reports, and local folklore. While every effort is made to research and represent events accurately, some details, names, and locations may differ from official accounts or have been changed out of respect for those involved. These episodes are created for storytelling and entertainment purposes and should not be considered definitive fact or investigative journalism.